Look at that. Oh, okay. Welcome back to my channel. You just caught me fondling my torpedo. Yes. Look, good to see you here. And have I got a very different but exciting video for you. And this video is all because of my patrons. Yeah, this video was suggested by one of my patrons. Well, I ask them every now and then, what would you like to see next, you know? And they, of course, say banjo playing, but I'm getting too old and too shy to do that. But no, this was a patron suggested video where the question was, Harry, how do you win in model competitions? And I had to have a big think about this, you know, because it is quite tricky. But there is a formula. There is a way to do it. I mean, it does involve a little bit of luck, but there's actually a formula that does work. Yeah. And I'll be telling you all about that shortly in this show that I'm going to call the Patron Idea Show Special. Yeah, basically I'm just taking the piss. Roll music. Now, as many of you may know who watch my channel regularly, I've won a number of awards over the years. In fact, a whole bloody bucket load of them here from many years and many things that I've done, including this great big trophy. Look at that. Yes, a bit younger and thinner then, wasn't I? Anyhow, look, you can win them, but it's not easy. And really, it's detrimental to the hobby. But I'll get more to that in a sec. First of all, I'll go through the times I've won or not won and what was a winning model and why, and then why other good models just didn't seem to place. And maybe from that you could distill the tricks that I've figured out and the reason why now I don't enter competitions. All right? Sounds mysterious? Well, let's get on with it, and I'll try and demystify this whole thing. Okay, first segment. This is the WTF award. Yeah. What the fun. Now, this one here, I won gold medal, modeler of the year, right? Wow! Shouldn't have won it. Impossible. No, shouldn't have happened. In fact, I wasn't even entering that year. I was entering other things. And Bernard's going, quick, I'm putting in my great big Fletcher battleship or cruiser or destroyer, whatever the hell it was, a big long thing he'd made, right? 1/44 scale Fletcher, right? Beautifully, put PE, put everything on it. It's fantastic. He was going to win, hands down. So, you know, he just wanted to bolster up the numbers. So I went, all right, Bernard, if you think I'll just grab something. So I reached out and I grabbed this tank, right? It was clean, it was neat, it was something I'd made. I liked it, I was proud of it, but I didn't think it was a show beater. It's just a nice, clean, neat model. You know, it was a lot of fun. So I put it in the competition and I won. And I beat Bernard. He was horrified. I mean, he was really pissed off. Bernard did go on to win later on at the big competition, QMHE, later on in the year when he entered it in a special category. I think he was the only one in the category. No, it was about 2 or 3. And he won. So at least he got something for all his hard effort. But here is the reason why. And it's not what you'll think. Judging criteria is not necessarily what's the most wonderful best model that they've put tons of work into and it's fantastic. It's not always the truth. In fact, from what I've gathered, and the reason I won for this particular model, is the criteria is it built cleanly? So does it all fit together? Are there no gaps, right? And then is it painted well? Is it a very nice, clean paint job, you know? And then if there's weathering and things like that, is it done well, not too overdone, you know? Are the decals down correctly, right? Have they, they're not, you know, they're not shining, they're not bloody silvering. And is it correct and built out of the box? Or, you know, is it a clean, neat, well done, well executed model that has a little bit of standout? That's it. That's all there seems to be. Because you can just belt your heart out trying to get the best model in the world out unless it meets these criteria, right? So basically, to win in a model show, you need something. Well, that was the Academy Hetzer, which is a really easy kit to put together and it fits perfectly. So, you know, there's plenty of kits like that, like the Trumpeter KV series. Click, 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 they fit together. Apparently, all those Tamiya kits fit together really well, so I'm told. And, yeah, what you need to do is you get a kit that really you don't spend much time on. So you're actually not spending much time modelling. You just click it together. Give it a really good paint job, right? Nice and clean and clear. Don't go too fancy, or don't get too carried away. Make sure you get the decals on properly. Make sure it's not the same as everyone else's. So don't paint the same bloody, Spitfire with the same camo scheme that everyone else is doing. Do something different. I mean, the rule, the red plane wins, always works here as well. More of that later. And that is a basic formula. Now, there was a guy in a competition in our club, and I had spent ages building this little bug, and it didn't win. And yet he knocked up his in the weekend. Admittedly, he's having young kids and everything. The guy's really busy. He had no time. And he bragged on the page that he had no time. He quickly threw this thing together, whacked a couple of flames on it, made it look nice, put it in a competition, and he wins. Why? Well, this brings me to my second point. Point 2. Kiss me. No. Keep it simple, stupid, right? This applies in so many things in life, but it really applies with competitions, okay? You can go too elaborate. As I said, Bernard had gone to so much elaboration on his Fletcher and puts his heart and soul in it, and he'd missed something as basic as the kit's not a very well-fitting kit, and the superstructure wasn't fitting to the deck properly, so there were gaps. So he lost out in points because of gaps. I had no gaps, but my model was kind of average, but it ticked all the boxes. So mine was a simple, stupid model, my tank, right? But Bernard's was a much better build, but he had failed to notice gaps. Now, the same thing happened to me with my Bounty, right? Here's the Bounty. They went into competition, and after a year of making it and everything, and when people heard I was in the competition, a number of people withdrew their models because they thought, I'm going to win for sure. And in it went, got second. Why did it get second? Well, the guy that won, it was during lockdown, right? He spent a couple of months working on a tank, and all he did was totally wreck it, and he made it look like it had been basically smashed out, and then he just put a whole lot of dust and stuff on it, and it's quite good. And when you looked at it, yep, there you go. There's a broken tank, well executed, very simple little concept. It is what it is. People looked at my model, and I got told later on by a number of them, they didn't vote for me because they thought it was a wooden kit. And so they went, well, it's supposed to be plastic, I'm not going to vote for you. And that was the thing. I had done such a good job in imitating the wood effects on my Bounty that people dismissed it as not being the work that it was. I mean, I suppose if I had an explanation with it, and maybe this is the thing too, and you don't often get this opportunity in competition, is to put down a card saying, this is such and such a model, and I have done all this scratch work to it, and I have fully rigged it with all these wooden things, and I made the sails from scratch, and all the wood effects have been done with paint on plastic. If that was down there explaining, then maybe, in some competitions you do get to put in a sheet to explain all the hard work that you've done, and so that does come to your, to your aid. But again, simplicity. The guy that's Christopher, hi Christopher. Christopher does his Beetle, and he just quick metallic kind of spray coat, makes up a funny little stencil, whack, 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 does some flames, lucks out. It's a nice job. It looks great, but honestly, he just spent a weekend on it, a little spare bit of time, a few hours here, a few hours there. He wins. He wins outright. And he beats people that have been spending, I spent ages and ages with my bug doing bloody flowers and things and research and all the rest of it. No, don't win. Why? I didn't bother to paint the chrome. I left the chrome tacky as it was, and I also left the paint job matte because I felt that it would be one of those hand-painted bugs from the 60s, so it wouldn't be perfect. If I'd made it all clean and perfect, that impresses the judges more. So you've got to be careful. And this brings me to another point, and this is know your category. Now, the astute viewers who've been watching us a while will have noticed my little friend down here. Yes, it's a Tribble. Yeah. You ever watch Star Trek? Yes. It's my furry microphone, and it's in shot. I just thought, I used to stick the gold one in shot, and it was all very impressive. Everyone thought I was John Laws. You know who John Laws is? Look it up on Wikipedia. He was a famous Australian news announcer, and, he had a gold microphone. Well, I've got a furry one now. Yeah, so here he is. Okay, enough of the Tribble. All right. Know your category. Okay, case in point. Schlepper, right? My land washer schlepper. It's an amphibious sort of tank. Well, not really. It's actually a boat. And that's what it does 99% of the time. And then it's got tracks so it can get from one river to another. That's what it was. It's basically a river boat for tugging things around. Okay? And I spent quite a bit of time in this and done quite a snappy camo and, did a whole lot of weathering on it and what have you. But only to the extent that a boat needed, not that a tank needed. It was, weathered as a boat. And it went into competition, like in the January competition of my local club, and it got first place, Terrific, terrific. And I thought, this is good, I'm on a thing here. So I put it into a great big competition, right? Now, a couple of things went wrong, but the main thing is, they insisted it went into armour. I wanted to put it in ships. They said, no, it's got tracks, it's got to go in armour. And I went, no, it's got a hope in hell in armour. It has to go into ships. It's basically painted like a ship. So, no, it went into armour, and of course, didn't win anything. And that's the thing. It won't win if it's in the wrong category. So the Landwasher Schlepper really is a boat. And if I could have forced it into the boat section, there were some lovely boats there, but I think there was only about 2 or 3 entries, I probably would have got at least a place. Because, it's big, it's impressive, it's lots of colour, very cleanly built. Again, a nice clean kit, a nice execution. I haven't gone too crazy with the weathering. Everything fits together, painted well for what it is. It's got the wow factor. So it could have got a competition place. But no, wrong category. So you've got to be very careful about this. What's in a category? Now, interestingly, one year at the big QMHE competition, our club has a stand there, and I got asked to take a number of my kits along. Put your teeth in, Harry. I got asked to take a number of my kits along to put on our stand to show people that walk by the kind of things our club makes. So I had my big red seaplane, I'll show that in a sec, and I also had my submarine, okay? And this was one that I just knocked up, and I wanted to try out some weathering effects, and I had over-weathered it. But actually I found there were versions of these, because they were coastal submarines, these Type 20 thing I think it is, Type 23, yeah. And some of them were weathered too, these shithouse, they were. So this wasn't incorrect. So, but a lot of people had poo-pooed it on YouTube saying I'd overdone the weathering, it was inaccurate, not to scale. Do your research, guys. Actually, it is. I'd found photos of the submarines of these things absolutely weathered to the buggery before they'd come in to get cleaned up and refit. Anyhow, to do with the category is this. When we'd looked around, Ben and I were wandering around, and we noticed the submarine category, and there's only 2 subs in there, and both were little ones, and they weren't very good. They're pretty average. They're okay, They're both going to win an award, and they weren't anywhere near as good as mine. If I'd put mine in, I would have at least got third, if not better, because that category was undersupplied, and I had a clean build with a snappy paint job, and it was relevant for it. Again, I would have met the criteria. Could have got first place. I had a shot, right? Now, this went even further. My mate Chris, who every year works out at the end of the big competition every year, he works out the 12 builds he's going to make for the next year. Yeah, that's his life, building for competition. Yeah, so he ends up just building to fit niches. Now, what he noticed was the 148 armour class only had 1 entry. That was pretty average. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't so brilliant. So straight away, he started building 148 armour, put it in, and yeah, he wins first place next year. Why? Because the category is underrepresented, and if you can do a clean, well-presented build with a little bit of zing, you're a shoo-in. That's it. Now, this is the thing. Admittedly, the following year, I had a look at the submarine category, and there were about 3 or 4 really big subs in there. Might not have done as well. Maybe would have got a third, But there you go. There was also wood ships. There's only about 1 or 2 wood ships in there. So if and when I finish my wood ship, that'd be a good category to go in because it's underrepresented. So if you've done a good, clean, straight build that really stands out, you might win. That's the trick. Know your category. So the poor old Landwasher Schlepper, yeah, it really needs to go into the boat category to win. But unfortunately, the judges see it as armour. That's a problem. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. Lean in and listen carefully, because this is the best advice you're ever going to get. It's a secret. The little red airplane always wins. Yeah. Now, look, smear kit, right? Absolute rubbish kit, absolute garbage kit. But I managed to use 2 kits to build 1 airplane, and I kind of got a snappy red paint job on it, and basically rigged it and did a little bit of effects with the copper, all the copper radiators all over it, right? Not my best build. Basic weathering on it, panel lines, it's a soft build. I don't think it's a good kit. Bernard said, no, you got to bring it in, mate, put it in the comp. And it wins first place in our local club's competition, right? Only just. It was pretty even with some others, but it got a winning vote. And I never would have thought that. Why? the red airplane always wins. Something that really stands out. Those that knew it was a Smurf kit, right, knew how crappy that kit was, so they knew I'd actually taken it up and elevated it. Those that didn't saw that it was reasonably, well, it was clean, right? I'd cleaned up all the bad joints and the horrible blobs of propeller blades. I'd made them, shaped them. It was clean. There were no seam problems. There were, basically the whole kit fit together lovely, which is not what the Smurf kit would have been if you built it out of the box without all that work. I'd also scratch built and put a little cockpit interior in. But, it didn't matter. It just all looked nice and clean. And it was red. The red airplanes often win. Now, another one, right, this one, is my little Airfix 1/72 iron deck head. Iron deck head. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. Now, I grabbed it, took it in because I had nothing else to show that month at a competition. And I just went, the iron deck head, that can go in, it's finished, it's clean, it's nice. But again, I hadn't actually cottoned on to the whole what wins thing here. Clean, seams were all together correctly, basic sort of paint job, but done reasonably well. Decals went down, and I had rigged it in 1/72 scale, so I'd have that kind of wow factor. Put it in, everybody went gaga over it, and it won. All right. The little aeroplane or the red aeroplane usually wins. You check in your competitions. You see the Spitfires that have gone in lately. Everyone's got camo, and then somebody's put in a big red one like the one I'm building, right? The new red one with big stripes. Now, as long as they've done a clean build, as long as they've put it together well, and there's no panel line gaps, and the paint job is nice and shiny and smooth, there's no fingerprints on it, you'll probably find they're going to win. It's unusual. It stands out. The red one always wins. Worth thinking about. There you go. Okay, now let's move on to what is the last way that you can win a competition, and it's not what you would think. Now, this one's a bit left of field. It's not going to work for everyone, and in fact, it may have just been a fluke on my part, but it was a fluke 2 years running. So I think I'm onto something. Okay, this is called the don't give a flip build. All right? Now, bear with me. Here we go. Remember this one? Yeah. This is a little Japanese destroyer, and it's being eaten by a Kraken. Okay? 1/700 scale destroyer. Okay? I knocked that up in just probably about a week. I left it at the last minute just before competition because I really wasn't happy with her. I was having a fight with a few of the club members, and I really sort of wasn't happy. And it was a bit of a sort of FU build. Okay? Now, the whole secret to this was I didn't care. I didn't care at all. I threw the model together. I snapped it in two. I'd been joking all year about putting a Kraken in as just a running gag. And I thought, I'll make one. I rolled one up out of Milliput, just made a cartoon-looking Kraken, and I did that like in 5 minutes, Let it set, threw it all in, put it together. Admittedly, I have some artistic ability, and so I just basically was in the zone and just went for it, didn't care. And actually, sometimes when you just let go, so you're not stressing about getting it right and you just relax. It's the whole Zen yoga sort of thing, right? Some of my best builds have been ones where I'm not building for competition or I'm not building to impress anybody. I'm building because I love the subject. Like really with the Bounty, when I started out, I was just having fun. I got that thing half built before I even did a video. I was just doing it to cheer myself up because I was in a bad space at that time. I stopped all my other projects and I built it. And yet it ended up being one of my best builds ever. So I knocked this submarine up, snap it in two, whack a few PE rails on. The only reason I did that is somebody chucked a wobbly in one of the competition meetings and went, we don't want people putting photo etch rails on. Harry's going to do that. He knows how to do it. And just to piss them off, I put photo etch rails on it. Admittedly, I have them on very badly and they're kind of bent. But then again, this thing snapped in two and being eaten by a Kraken. So I stuck the whole thing to a board and there it is. And then I went, I've got to do some wave effects on this. Well, I can't be bothered spending forever doing proper wave effects. I just got out the bottle of Aqua here and squashed it around everywhere, let it dry, added a few layers. That'll do. Then I thought, God, I've got to paint this thing. It's 1/72. It's going to be a pain to paint. I went, no, bugger it. Painted the whole thing black. And then I got down at basically the angle you're looking at it, like, point of view, low. And I airbrushed whites and then greys only from that angle. So if you turn the thing around to the back, it's all black. But from the front, it's kind of very light greys and whites. And if you look from the top, well, everything has like shadow shading line. And it actually made all the photo etch pop. It turned out magical. It wasn't intending to be that brilliant. But it actually really worked. And again, I did not give a flip. I wanted the fastest, easiest way to paint it. So I did all that and thought, well, I'll put this in competition. Everyone can have a laugh, We'll see how we go, They loved it. People were just drooling over it. Because they could see the detail in it. They see all the little photo etch railings and everything, and the Kraken didn't look too bad, especially the mysterious black and white effect. They asked me, why did I do the black and white effect? I said, I wanted to make it look like one of those old, black and white horror movie cartoons with, a schlock sort of stuffed animal sort of, octopus that's attacking, those monsters. That sort of thing. Those really bad B monster movies. And that's kind of what it looks like. So I win a silver place. Silver medal, right? Couldn't believe it. So next year, we've got a motorbike. I do like motorbikes. But at this point, actually, I'm having difficulties with the club and I'm thinking of quitting. But I haven't. But I was having a few difficulties. So personal issues and things were going on. Then we had COVID and it was all a bit of a nightmare. And anyhow, eventually competition came round and lockdown was down and we could all go in. I thought, all right, got to do this motorbike. I thought, really not in the mood for it. So 4 days before competition, I started gluing it together. And it wasn't going together really well. I was making mistakes and it was kind of the panels weren't fitting. And I thought, well, I'll just turn it into a rat bike. Bugger it. So I did that. I just ratted it up. I scratched it up. I put fluff on the seat to look like the seat was torn. Again, I was just in the zone. I didn't care. I wasn't expecting to win or anything. I was just putting it in because, I went, oh, well, I'll just put it in. Who cares? So whatever. So I ratted up this whole motorbike. And I didn't even paint the chrome. No one realised. The chrome was just the chrome out of the box. I didn't even paint the black parts. They were just the way out of the box and I just sprayed them with some bloody flat coat, I only painted the body shell and I sort of did a few little details on it. That was it. It was a real cheats build. There's a whole video on that you can actually watch. I just threw it all together. It goes into competition. I thought, we're going to have a laugh with it, Second place. Again. Now, it's not that I've done a crap job because actually what's happened here is, as I said, I have lost my fear and lost my expectation and I'm not trying to build to win. Okay? I'm building for the sheer enjoyment of building and not having a care and having a laugh about it. And in doing that, I've actually got myself in what's called alpha rhythms, which is basically that zone, right? That zone you can get into, like when you're playing music or you're doing sport, or what you first got when you first started doing modelling. You used to get into this zone and you just completely zone out from all your troubles and your worries and you're having a great time. If you can get to that space, you are your most creative and you'll have the most amount of enjoyment. So actually, to sum this whole thing up, the moral of the story is don't build for competition. I mean, like, my mate Chris, who builds his 12 builds every year for competition, stresses out incredibly, has to build them exactly to categories, gets advice from all the rivet counters everywhere so they're exactly right, and oh dear, and then he's working until midnight the night before and he turns up at competition with his eyeballs hanging out, puts his models in and then goes and has a bloody nap because he's bugging himself out. That's not the hobby. Well, to me it isn't. Hobby is something I do to relax and enjoy and have fun and to share with you on YouTube. And so my models that kind of win are those that really are the ones that I've had fun with. And they're usually the clean builds, except for those last two. Those last two are very much the exception. But they show that even the worst model, under the right circumstance, can win. But again, it's really about not trying. It's about just having fun, doing a clean build, making it a little bit different, and then you've got a chance in competition. At least, that's my take on it, okay? So, take it as you will. Anyhow, big shout out to my patrons for the idea for this video. It took me a while to think up a way to sort of talk about it, but I hope you enjoyed that. And if you'd like to become a patron, and then you could basically suggest videos, and you also get to see them 24 hours early and advert free, just hop along through the link to my Patreon page, and from $1 a month, as little as $1 a month, that's nothing, right? All right, I waffled on enough. I hope you enjoyed this piss take on model making, and I hope you'll watch the rest of my videos, and especially the adverts. Got to watch the adverts so I get that monetization. Can't speak. Oh dear, I need a coffee. Put my teeth in. All right, it's goodbye from Australia, and it's hooroo from Harry Houdini.